Hi, this is Kerry Artak with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your weekly Bitcoin update on our YouTube channel, wickedstocks.com, our Wicked Stocks YouTube channel. And this is a weekly series we've been doing for some time. 86,872 is a former 5-year channel top that we settled above for the first time over a year ago, November of 24. We got a nice rally out of that, came collapsing back to retest this channel top. And in the process of collapsing back, this was, by the way, what I call the tough tariff talk in the early Trump administration. The stock market also fell back significantly. The entire time we were testing or retesting this channel top, we never did once close back below it, even though we spiked significantly below it. But we held it. If you're just using settlement-based signals, and there was no signal to bail on a long position despite the wild market at that time. And following the testing of this channel top, we did forge to new highs, and it actually reached a long-term resistance area that was considered our next big picture objective at 122,433. Nothing more I call the full swing, where you've got the 21 high and the 22 low. The difference between these two, you add back to the 21 high, and that takes you to 122,433, and you can see how it held. This is an exhaustion point for most markets, whether it's near, mid, or long term. And it is in play still again later in 26, over the next, 3 to 5 months or longer perhaps, is my guess, holding above 86,872. And so that is our two-sided framework as we move through the first quarter and into the second. There's no compelling reason to be, short Bitcoin, or if you're long Bitcoin and you have been for some time, I see no compelling reason to exit that long position, because from here we can push back into the 120s or even higher over the next 3 to 5 months, better part of a year. In fact, let's take a look at this chart. We actually have a rising 2-year channel bottom that we did test in November. It's climbing weekly, 85,018. I consider this to be our long-term backstop. In other words, holding above this range, 85,018 to 86,872, will keep 122,433 in reach. I'm just going to say by the end of the second quarter, mid-year or sooner. Sooner would likely, unfold if we were to close now above 95,945. That is the high of the low. And on weekly bar chart analysis, that is a simple buy signal that works quite well. I don't have every market's a little different, but when you close below the low of a high, or the high of a low, or the low or below the low of a high, et cetera, they're usually turning points in the market. And if we do close above 95,945, this congestive process has played out now for 2 months, I think is over. And we should then forge within 3 to 5 months to 122,433. So if you have yet to buy the market on weakness, Bitcoin, 85,018, if you did not buy the dip to this 2-year channel bottom, your next opportunity, in my opinion, longer term, to buy on strength would be a settlement above 95,945. On to this chart, I can show that if we do close above 95,945, 415 rather, the 50% upside retracement becomes a 3 to 5 week target or sooner. Within a couple, 2-3 months of closing above 95,945, the 113, 105 low of the high. These are the sort of near and midterm targets. And then overall, once again, holding above 85,018 will keep, as I said earlier, this 122,433 in reach over the next, half year. By the middle of the year, if we close above 95,945, I think then we can anticipate a 3 to 5 month rally all the way back into the low 120s. In fact, this 2-year channel bottom at 85,018 has a channel top this week at 136,090. And truth be told, that is what is possible. And what we did that here from September of 23 to December of 24, that was a year and 3 or 4 months. So, and this same distance from August of 24 to December of 24. This is 5 months. And so, once again, this is possible within, a half a year, 136.90, possible. But what is likelier, I think, is a more kind of a prolonged approach where it actually could take the better part of a year to reach 136.90. So that is what's in play. 136.90, if tested over the next year, can contain quarterly, possibly annual buying pressures. If we do close below 85,018 this week, which doesn't look likely at this point in time, but if we do, I do have a 3 to 5 week objective at 77,589. We could get a nice bounce here. This is a bit of a head and shoulders topping process, perhaps, although it's a sloppy one. It's certainly not textbook. But I think, simply put, if we close below 85,018, you can anticipate within 2 to 3 to 5 months or so, 57,136. And I consider 57,136 the base of support for Bitcoin through the rest of the decade. If tested, can absorb selling over that time frame. From here, we can round up to retest the 120s or higher within several years of testing 57,136. If, for whatever reason, we close below 57,136 or this formation by some point in 26, I don't see Bitcoin being a relevant entity anymore on the speculative stage. I mean, it'll still be there, but it will fade. And I don't know what the circumstances would be for that, but there you are. I'm going to leave it at that for this week's Bitcoin analysis. You have a great week.